Movies, movies, movies. We got so many movies on this Letterboxd watch list. Let's pick something at random and review it. Today's video is going to be about Fender Bender. This is an indie horror from 2016. Okay, I thought it was more recent than that. But yeah, I haven't seen this one, and I've heard okay to middling things. This poster is excellent, though. I think I expected something completely different than what I got with Fender Bender. I remember hearing about this movie back when it first came out, and I guess because of its title and poster, I just assumed that it was either a killer car movie or about a psycho killer using his car as a weapon. In my head, this was like Duel, Joyride, or The Hitcher, when in reality, it's a run-of-the-mill slasher. I don't mind those, I love slashers, but oh man, killer car movies are so cool. Have you guys ever seen The Car? It's like Jaws in the desert, but the shark is a car, and the car is also Satan. It's fucking awesome. I'm not even a car guy, but for some reason I love road movies, and if you make them horror, I love them even more. Race with the Devil is another one of my favorites that I'll never pass up an opportunity to mention. Fender Bender isn't really like one of those movies, but it tries to invoke some of those aesthetics. It almost feels like the filmmakers are taunting you by saying, this is what could have been if we had a bigger budget. I'm not gonna blame that on them, however. They obviously just worked with what they had. Fender Bender is not a bad looking movie, but it's pretty obvious that it was made for very little money. Let's just say you can't do the movie I'm asking for with the budget they had for this thing. Oh well. The story here is paper thin, even for an independent slasher. The main character, Hillary, gets into a fender bender and exchanges information with the other driver. Turns out that that other driver is a serial killer who chooses his victims this way. He deliberately hits them with his car and then follows them home, terrorizing them at night. Since Hillary's parents are away for the weekend, the killer thinks he's got the upper hand, until some of Hillary's friends show up unannounced. You know, in a movie like this, they gotta add some fodder characters for the body count. I wouldn't really recommend this to anyone who's not a die-hard fan of slasher movies, and even so, your mileage may vary. This movie has some major problems, and the most glaring one is its writing. There's an opening kill where the movie shows its hand way too quickly. Pretty much everything that later happens to Hillary happens to the woman in the opening, just in a quicker time frame. I understand why you'd want to have an elaborate opening kill, since the movie is very inspired by both Scream and Halloween. But the thing is, in those movies, the opening sequences are so iconic because they stand out from the rest of the film. If you would have shown me the first 10 minutes of Fender Bender separately and told me that it was a short film which was then turned into a feature, I would have believed you. What I'm getting at here is that the story needed something more. Once Hillary is alone in the house, there's a lot of her just walking around and texting the killer, and I found myself thinking, wait, is this really it? The amount of time it takes for this girl to realize that something is wrong is hilarious, even for a naive teenager. When her friends show up, it does get a little more exciting, but only for a hot minute or two. It's a shame because the few times it actually feels like the movie gets going, I found it fairly entertaining. The killer has a really cool look to him, and I like how the car is an extension of that. The music from Night Runner adds a lot to the film's aesthetic, combining synthwave beats with heavy metal guitars. When you see the killer slowly walking over to his next victim with the music blaring in the background, it's rad, but it also reminds you of what could have been. There's just not enough to this movie. If the kills were a little better, I'd talk about those. If the characters were interesting, I'd talk about that. If there was anything to grasp onto here, I promise I would have brought it up. I wouldn't say I had a bad time with Fender Bender, since it's shot pretty well and has an interesting villain, but I'm a sicko for slasher films. Anyone who's not should probably stay away. Before I go, I wanted to mention that there are some interesting horror connections here. The director of this film, Mark Pavia, only has one other feature director credit, and it's 1997's The Night Flyer, which is based on a Stephen King story. If you've seen it, let me know if it's good in the comments. I've been meaning to get into some lesser-known Stephen King adaptations, and this one looks kind of bonkers. Mackenzie Vega, who plays Hillary, was also Carrie Elway's daughter in the first Saw movie. We've had a surprising number of Saw connections on this show so far, but I guess that makes sense since there's like a bajillion of those movies. If you enjoyed this video, I make a new one like it every day, so, maybe stick around, hang out, we have fun here. Leave a like. If you're on desktop, confetti pops out. That's fun. I'll talk to you guys soon, okay? Bye.